Hello, I am Robert Steinbauer and I welcome you back to my business ethics video series. With the last chapter on ethical leadership and culture, we started to shift away from the individual level of analysis towards organizations. We now have completed this shift and focus solely on the organizational level of analysis. Specifically, we'll talk about corporate social responsibility today, CSR. I have listed several classical papers on CSR that will help us to better understand whether an organization has a responsibility to the society it operates in, and if so, what these responsibilities might be. But before we get started, let's clarify some important terms that I will be using throughout this chapter. As I mentioned before, CSR refers to the responsibilities that a business has to the society in which it operates. I will also talk a lot about shareholders and stakeholders. Shareholders are individuals, institutions, or corporations who legally own shares or stock in a public or privately traded company. Consequently, shareholders are the owners of an organization. Please also note that the terms stockholder and shareholders mean the exact same thing, and I will be using them interchangeably, so don't get confused. Finally, we have stakeholders. I have already defined stakeholders in the last video. And I said that stakeholders are any group or individual who can affect or is affected by the achievement of the organization's objectives. This is a very broad definition, and since a lot of constituents have a deemed interest in what a firm does, in order to earn profits, we will narrow it down when we talk about stakeholder theory. Again, stakeholder and shareholders are different. Shareholders and stockholders are the same. Don't get confused here. This is a very important distinction. So let's get started with stockholder theory and Milton Friedman, a very well-respected American economist who supported a free market economy with minimal intervention. In 1976, Friedman even received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for his achievements in the field of consumption analysis, monetary history and theory, and for his demonstration of the complexity of stabilization policy. As an advisor to the US President Ronald Reagan and the British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, he promoted that supply and demand will regulate pretty much anything. Some of his recommendations include that the government should not issue medical licenses, or the government should not fight a war on drugs. If the people want something, such as streets free of drug dealers, they will simply pay for it. It's not the government's job. In the same vein, though, good doctors will be in demand, while the market will automatically remove bad doctors. So there is no need for the government to issue medical licenses. His view of the free market also strongly influenced his view of CSR. Friedman was a strong supporter of stockholder theory, and his view about CSR can be summarized with only one quote. In our society, there's one and only one social responsibility of business, and it is to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profit so long as it stays within the rules of the game, which is to say, engages in open and free competition without deception and fraud. It is that simple. To make profits, a company has to sell products at a price customers are willing to pay. If consumers are not satisfied with the quality of the product or the price, they will simply not buy it. Nobody forces consumers to buy it in an open and free economy. In addition to produce said products, the company has to hire and pay qualified employees. And then the company has to pay its suppliers. Once the company makes profits, it also pays the taxes to the government. So as long as a company tries to maximize its profits, it will at the same time also maximize the benefits for all stakeholders. Just imagine Tesla trying to pay its engineers minimum wage. Regardless whether it's $10 or $15 an hour, no engineer at Tesla would be, yeah, I'll work there. So how many qualified engineers do you think Tesla will be able to retain? As I discussed before, Friedman believed in the free market economy with minimal intervention. If governments intervene, they're not only preventing the market from finding its natural equilibrium, they're also wasting taxpayer money doing so. Similar, when an organization's CEO spends money on things that do not increase profits, for example by donating corporate funds to a charity, he or she is actually stealing money from shareholders through lower returns. He's also stealing money from workers because he has to pay them lower wages. And of course from customers because he has to charge higher prices. Moreover, executives are hired because they are presumably experts in running the company. To make and keep an organization profitable by hiring good employees, developing and selling products, arranging financing, and so on. But nothing about this makes them experts in how to use corporate funds for a social cause. So, they are taking money away from customers, employees, and owners and give it to groups of their choosing. And that's important because the owners may disagree. What if I, as a shareholder, as an owner, don't care about the Harry Potter Alliance or the Society for Greening the Greens around the green, whatever he wants to pick? If stockholders, customers, or employees wish to donate money to a good cause, they should spend their own money. The situation of the individual proprietor, the sole proprietor, is somewhat different. If a sole proprietor reduces the returns of their enterprise in order to exercise their felt social responsibility, they are spending their own money, not somebody else's money. So Friedman's biggest problem was that CEOs should not spend other people's monies, but they were hired to maximize shareholder profits. How would you feel if you just invest, let's say, $100,000 in a company and hear that they randomly give away money? The emphasis is on randomly, because it does not mean that CEOs cannot support charities, but they should only do so when they anticipate a return on their investment that exceeds their investment. Engaging in CSR activities, therefore, becomes a cover-up for strategic actions to maximize profits, rather than a felt responsibility to give back to society in which an organization operates. For example, an organization that is a major employer in a small community can use its resources to create amenities for the community, or even improving its government, if that means that they can attract desirable key employees, reduce the wage bill, lessen losses from sabotage, or lower their corporate taxes by deducting charitable donations. As you may have noticed, the Niagara region, while nice, is not known for being a social hotspot in North America or even in Canada. Consequently, a lot of people would rather work in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. With close to 6,000 employees, Brock University is the second largest employer here in Niagara. And because Niagara is a small community, it's difficult to compete with urban universities for top talents. So Brock University invests heavily in community events across the Niagara region to ensure that employees and their families are happy here. Why would Brock University sponsor the Welland Float Fest or have a stand at almost every Summerfest in the region? Milton Friedman would argue that this is a strategic business decision and not CSR. So why would Ford repair the Pinto if it thinks it can maximize its profits by releasing it? Again, Milton Friedman is clear profit maximization, whatever yields the greatest profit. And in this video, you can see Milton Friedman argue that Ford made the right choice by releasing the Ford Pinto. So if you have a minute, please watch this video. At this point, you probably think, well, that sounds wonderful. What else is there to know about CSR? A company needs to maximize its profits and all else will follow. Well, Stockholder Theory was very popular because it protected greedy business people from public criticism and, in addition, provided them with an excuse to engage in morally questionable behavior to maximize their profits. For example, the Stockholder Theory acknowledges that an organization can maximize its profits by simply eliminating competition. So predatory practices, as long as they stay within the law, are supported. There's no problem with them. Moreover, while organizations have to stay within the rules of the game, Friedman suggested that organizations may use their political influence to lobby the government to pass laws that prevent competitors from entering the market, reduce environmental or safety regulations, or pass other laws that reduce its cost or increase its profits. So Friedman acknowledged that organizations will push the boundaries of what is legal to maximize their benefits. Offshore accounts? Not a problem. Outsourcing to countries with little to no environmental laws? Even better. If the country has no minimum wage or employee safety regulations, perfect, that's where we're going to go. There are many questionable ways today's businesses maximize their profits without breaking any laws. Don't forget, most social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on violate their users' privacy on a regular basis by selling their data. They also make money by allowing hate speech or spreading fake news nowadays. Those are all acts that unfortunately do not break any laws. So, can you think of an organization that clearly lives by or violates Stockholder Theory, that clearly puts profits above everything else? Well, I would say Walmart is an organization that clearly lives by Stockholder Theory. They maximize their profits by focusing on low prices for the customers. But they pay their employees not a penny more than they are legally required to. They squeeze their suppliers as much as they can. They don't care about the working conditions of their suppliers or their own environmental footprint. Whatever they can do to maximize their profits. Do you think this is the right way of doing business? If so, please watch a video called Walmart, the High Cost of Low Prices that is available for free on YouTube.